Hi everyone, and welcome to Paper Wish's weekly webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm really excited to bring you 6 different colors of opal polishes, some embossing folders, 2 3D embossing folders, plus a really cool circle illusions embossing folder. We're also going to be looking at some cutting dies, and we've got 2 that are triple layer collection cutting dies in a really sweet hummingbird and dragonfly design, plus a really useful sentiment die for your card making and other paper crafts. We've got a lot to share with you today from our friends at Creative Expressions, so come play with us. Let's take a look at our Opal Polish collection here. You've got 6 gorgeous colors. Now, the Opal Polish is a water-based, fast-drying medium, and this is going to give you a really beautiful opalescent effect on not only white cardstock, but also black cardstock. You'll get 2 different looks from each one of these 6 colors. So the color range that we have for you today is Golden Flamingo. You've got Lavender Blue, Blushed Peach, Pink Thistle, Blue Parakeet, yes, I know it's green, but the name is Blue Parakeet, and then also the Golden Glow. All of these can be used individually to create really gorgeous effects. You can also use them all together, or many of them together, to create a really beautiful rainbow effect. So what I'm going to do is move aside many of these, and then let's take a look at how to use them. So let me move aside all of my beautiful colors, and we'll talk about the applicator and how to apply this beautiful color. So first of all, you'll notice on here you've got the little plastic tub with that medium inside, and I'm just going to open this up so that you can see. There's actually mica in this, which means that you're going to get a soft shimmery glow, but you don't need to worry about the mess of glitter. In fact, these are quite low mess medium. Now, as far as how you will apply them, you've got a built-in applicator right here up at the top, a little sponge applicator, and this is fantastic. This is going to be all you need, really, to apply your medium onto your cardstock. Of course, you can use brushes, you can use other sponges, you can use your hands if you want to, but I think it's really nice that you've got one of these on hand. Now, when you first get your opal polishes, you'll need to pull off a little plastic bit here on the top of the applicator. Just pop that off. You can use a pair of old scissors like I did, and then you can pull out your sponge applicator. So I mentioned that you can get 2 different looks from each one of your colors depending on what kind of cardstock you put this on. So I'm going to bring in a piece of plain white and plain black, just normal cardstock, nothing terribly fancy. Let's start with the white cardstock and we'll see how this looks. So I'm just going to pop out my applicator and take this and set it off to one side. I'm going to dip my applicator right into this medium. Just look at that shine on there, it's so pretty. And then I'll sort of scrape off any excess. You don't need to overload your applicator. You can always go back and add more. So as I'm holding down my cardstock, I'm just going to kind of swirl this on and take a look at that beautiful, soft, shimmery effect. This will dry really quickly. Now, if I want to add more color, all I need to do is just repeat the process. Come back with a bit more color. I can add as much as I want to. This is a great way to get the look of pearlescent cardstock without buying pearlescent cardstock. You can create your own in any color you want. Now this is going to dry pretty quickly. In the meantime, I'm just going to pop my sponge back into the top of this and let it click. And then just make sure that that top is on there and closed. Now let's see. Just about dry. So I can run this through my embossing folder or do die cutting with it as I please. It's ready to go. Now let's see what this will look like on black cardstock. Once again, same process. And I'll just run this on as well. Now you'll notice that this is allowing that beautiful black to come through, and it's creating a completely different color. So let's take a look at the 2 of these side by side. And this one that I'm working with is the Pink Thistle. So I've got it Pink Thistle on white and on black. Really gorgeous, beautiful shimmery colors. But of course I've got 2 different colors completely. Now what I did is made a little swatch book, and I thought this would make it easier to show you all of the different colors that you're getting in this collection. And it was also a nice little cheat sheet for me as I was making the projects. So in this one, you can see this is the Golden Glow on white and then on black. Both of them beautiful pearlescent shine, but noticeably different colors. Here on the Blushed Peach, you'll notice again on white and on black. The Pink Thistle, which we just saw, so this looks familiar to you, white and black. And the Golden Flamingo, beautiful peachy pink here, and then definitely like a brushed gold. The Blue Parakeet, remember it looked green, so this is what it looks like on white, and this is what it looks like on black. And then the Lavender Blue, which is one of my personal favorites. Here it is on white, and here it is on black. So let's take a look at some different ways that you can put your opal polishes to use. One of the easiest ways to use your opal polish is in combination with an embossing folder. And in this case, I'm looking at the Circle Illusion embossing folder, and I'm going to show you how you can add some color to your cardstock before you do your embossing. So same process as before. I'm going to take the Golden Glow, one of my favorites, and pull out that applicator and just dab some of this color straight onto that cardstock. Like so. And I have a beautiful instant finish on here. Now what I can do, once I let this dry for a second or two, I can simply insert it into my embossing folder. So you know how this works. All you need to do is just open up your double-sided clear plastic embossing folder. Just nest this inside. I like to go up to the top, pop this part down, and run it through your embossing or die cutting machine. Then when you pull this out, you are going to have a piece that looks like this. You've got the texture and dimension of that beautiful embossing, but you've also got the glimmer of that beautiful pearlescent. Now, if you wanted to, you could also add on top of it, let's just grab one. Here's the Lavender Blue, and we're just going to add a little bit of color to highlight some of the embossed areas on here. And then take a look. You're able to highlight and add even more color on here. It's really such a fun way of creating your own colors and textures and dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to pop this lid back on here. Another way that you can use these is with already embossed cardstock. So this is using one of the 3D embossing folders from Creative Expressions, and this is the Ribbon Swirls. Now, all embossing is going to be dimensional, but the 3D is really 3D. This is going to give you a really thickly raised and embossed design. It's super tactile. It's just beautiful. So I've already done my embossing on here. And now what I'm going to do, again, let's bring in the Lavender Blue. I like this one. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color on the raised portion of this design. And you can see immediately how that is standing out. Now, if I want to add more color, again, I can come back and highlight this with a darker, deeper shade. But again, because this is such a raised design, it's going to give you a really beautiful effect. Now, you can let this dry and use it as is, of course. You could also come back and use another color on top. Let's take a look. Here's the Pink Thistle. So I'm just going to pop this out. You can see how it starts to get a little bit addicting once you get going with these. And then maybe add on a little bit more color here in some of those open areas. And I'm working onto a craft sheet. This is a handy background to work on when you're doing things like with some mixed media effects. And there we go. We've got a really pretty multicolored background on here. So what are some other ways that you can use your opal polishes? Well, let's take a look. So first of all, I'd shown you with the embossing. Now I think you can also do some areas where you just have sort of a random effect going on here where you don't completely cover the entire piece. Or of course, you can take that same, this is the bubble design, and add lots of different colors on it and really get into some of that raised area there too. Now you can also add your color in a little bit different format. So in both of these cases, this is working on black cardstock, this is working on white. I've applied the color and then I've taken just a dry tissue and dabbed it into some gold and then just sort of pounced the color on here. In this case, this is the blue parakeet, and then I added some of the, looks like it is the golden flamingo on this one. Can't read my own notes on here. The golden flamingo. And you'll notice that I've also edged around with the applicator too. So all you need to do is just hold this and run it along and you'll be able to get a beautiful edged effect on here. So you can also combine your opal polish with some ink. And in this case, what I did, I thought, oh, let's see if we can create a spattered effect. So I grabbed one of the Distress inks, and this is in Pine Needles, made a watery wash and just spattered some color on top of that, and you're able to get a really fun pattern design. Speaking of patterns, you can also take advantage of that circular applicator and make a little polka dot design on your background as well. If you're wondering about painting, applying the opal polish with paint, in this case I just added some with a dry brush, and you can see that comes out just beautifully. If you want to add water and just decant a little bit of that opal polish onto your craft sheet, add some water, you can get some watercolor effects here too. So I've got a really soft, pretty purple, and then I've done the same color here on black, and that's given me a really nice watery wash. So now that you've seen some of the techniques, let's take a look at some of the cards you can create. This card project starts with 2 pieces of white cardstock that I embossed using the Ribbon Swirls 3D embossing folder. So I've got one base piece here at the bottom of my card, and then one piece that's been trimmed to size and used as sort of the center piece of my card here. After I embossed, I used a little bit of the pink thistle and then hit the highlights with the golden flamingo and also the blushed peach. So that's going to give me some really soft, pretty color and also little highlights of metallic shine. Now for my focal area here, I used the golden glow just on a piece of smooth white cardstock to create a perfectly matching matte piece. And I've got another layer down here too. Now for my hummingbird, this is a cutting die, and this is one of the triple layer cutting dies. So triple layer, true to the name, is going to give you 3 layers of one single die shape, which means that you can create your own layered piece. Now what I like about these also is that you've got some project ideas in the folder as well. So you can use any of those pieces together or separately. In this case, I've got the 3 layers using some of my opal polish background pieces. Now for the sentiment, this is one of the most useful cutting die sentiments I think I've come across in a long time. It says, just for you. This works for weddings, it works for birthdays, it works for thinking of you, anniversary, so many different occasions. Now it's all one word, as you can see on here, but it doesn't mean you can't snip it apart to fit inside your area for your card. And that's what I've done here. Just trim that down and glued it onto my card focal. Now another way with that hummingbird die is to create a mirror image. So this is the way the bird is designed to go, as you saw before. But if you do your cutting die on the reverse side of your cardstock, you can create a mirror image. So for example, I've got some of that golden glow here on a piece of black cardstock. Instead of die cutting from this side, what I would do is just simply flip it over, kind of position it down where I know that there will be color on the other side, and run it through my die cutting machine. And do that with all of the layers, and then you will have 2 birds that are facing each other. Now in this case, I'm using the Circle Illusions background, and just as a background, I'm using that with the golden glow, and I'm also using various colors of golden glow on white and also on black cardstock to create my hummingbirds. Again, I've got the sentiment down here, also cut from golden glow and mounted up onto some black cardstock to give it a little bit of dimension on there. Now, just because those backgrounds are big and beautiful and you want to use them as your background, you can still cut them into strips, which is what I did here. And this is also using the Circle Illusions cutting or embossing. And what you can do here is just simply cut it into strips. I use my paper trimmer. And in this case, I am using the blue parakeet on black cardstock to create these. Then I've also got my dragonfly cutting die on here. Now this one, let me pull in the package so that you can see it. This is also a triple layered die. And again, you've got your project ideas on the inside, but I thought I would show you the process of the dies themselves so you can see what I mean by a triple layer. So I'll move aside this and I'll show you how the dies come. They're going to come 3 in a set. You can use any of them by themselves or in combination, however you wish, but they are, of course, designed to be stacked and layered together. So you'll start with your base piece, which is going to give you this effect here. And then what you would do is take your die and run it through again, simply nested inside the silhouette shape. So you do that once for this piece and once for this piece if you want the triple effect, so that you would end up with 3 different shapes. And then what you can do is simply stack and layer them one on top of the other. Now these two would be pretty together. These two would be pretty together, though you can also use them all together. So this is what I mean by having lots of different possibilities. So what I like to do is just glue down the body, and then that way you also have the wings that can kind of flutter up if you want them to. And that's what I've used on the front of this card. And again, I've got my sentiment down here mounted up on some black cardstock just to give that an extra little pop. So the last card project that I want to show you is using the Bubble Burst background, which is that really fun raised dimensional and kind of dotty effect. I just really, really love this and think that this can work in lots of different ways. So I've got that cut from white cardstock, and I used, I think, just about every one of those opal polishes on there. I know I used the blue parakeet, the blushed peach. I've also got the lavender blue and the golden glow. I think I worked in a little bit of the flamingo too, because why not? And I was able to get all of those colors on there. Absolutely beautiful, and they all go together so nicely. Same process for my dragonflies. Of course, I'm creating blue and green layers. I've got some peach layers underneath here too. The only thing that is consistent again along all 3 of these is that I have a black base layer, and that just helps them to pop out from that really soft and beautiful background. Same die cut sentiment on here, and in this case I've snipped it apart and layered it so that I've got the Just and You die cut from, this must have been the blue parakeet, and then just mounted up onto the black base sentiment on here. Super easy to do, and I think creates a really fun effect. There is so much that you can do with these opal polishes and the cutting dies and the embossing folders. I can hardly wait to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you for being a part of the Paper Wishes family. Be sure and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think about the opal polishes, about the cutting dies, about the embossing folders, and about how they all come together. Let me know what you plan on using them for. Each item that we talked about today can be purchased separately. However, we've also bundled them together into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, be sure to check out this webisode on paperwishes.com.